3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
From the place yet not overly ostentatious studios of CBS Sports Radio here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a Thursday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all of our great local CBS Sports Radio affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and, of course, streaming on YouTube. 855-212-4CBS is the number to jump on in, 855-212-4227. And you could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Got Moist Mike and also Stuart Kovacs rocking and rolling with me. jamming out all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Nicole Auerbach, college football insider for The Athletic and NBC, is going to stop by at 5:20 p.m. Eastern, 2:20 p.m. Pacific. And we actually start the show today with a little college football news, I guess, where we have been to this point before with Michigan and Jim Harbaugh in the last month or two, where it looks like they are inching closer and closer and closer to reaching a long-term extension. Now, there's 3 different reports out there, all pretty much say similar things, but there are some different wording in all 3 of those reports. John U. Bacon, who wrote a book about Harbaugh and the Michigan football program, has unprecedented access to the Michigan football program. He says that Michigan's AD War Manual, UM's leaders, and lawyers are finalizing Harbaugh's contract. It's a 5-year deal, $55 million, which will make him the highest paid coach in the Big Ten, as promised weeks ago. The ball is now in Harbaugh's court. So that's report number 1. Report number 2 from Dan Wetzel. Contract negotiations between Michigan and Jim Harbaugh are ongoing, including an extension at just under $11 million per year. However, industry sources tell Yahoo Sports a deal is not imminent and there is still work to be done. And then this one I think is the most important one, where once again, this from the Wolverine, says Michigan and Jim Harbaugh are working towards an extension that would include an $11 million annual salary. As first reported by the Wolverine, the contract could include Harbaugh not being able to entertain NFL jobs before the 2024 season. I will just ask this simple question. Let's say that this goes down the road that it looks like it's trending towards, that Jim Harbaugh is going to get a new contract, an extension with Michigan, and let's say that NFL clause is in there where he can't entertain NFL jobs this offseason. Is he making the right decision? And part of me wants to say, yeah, I respect it. You're staying at Michigan. You're giving the middle finger to the NCAA, and you're saying, bring on whatever sanctions and whatever punitive action you're going to bring my way. But I can't fully go there, even though, and I'll be abundantly clear when I say this, I want Michigan to keep Jim Harbaugh. I want Jim Harbaugh to stay at Michigan because I think it's great for college football. Because fair or not, and I don't really think he is a villain, but he has kind of taken that villainous role this year. And you have the entire Big Ten, all the other whining coaches, they're annoyed at Jim Harbaugh. And it creates a fun rivalry going with, let's say, Ryan Day and Jim Harbaugh, and James Franklin and Jim Harbaugh as well. And you get through whatever the suspension is that's coming down the turnpike, and away you go. You continue to dominate and kick ass and take names inside the Big Ten. So part of me wants to see that happen. And I would love to see that happen. But I can't say that this is the right decision. Because the last 2 years, whether it's contract related or not, it has appeared like Jim Harbaugh has done everything in his power to try to get himself back in the NFL. A place where, by the way, let me add, in 4 years as an NFL head coach, he went to 3 NFC title games and a Super Bowl with the San Francisco 49ers. So don't tell me that Jim Harbaugh isn't deserving of a second job in the NFL. He is. And the last 2 years, the Minnesota Vikings expressed interest in him. They did an interview. It was like 12 hours. I don't care if you are in contract negotiations trying to get more money out of Michigan. There is not a chance, and you know what, with however you want to play out these negotiations, that you would sit in an interview room for over 10 hours and not want the job. So I thought 2 years ago, Harbaugh wanted the job. And then when he didn't get the Vikings job and he tried to put the toothpaste back in the tube, he went out and publicly said, this won't be a yearly flirtation with the NFL. That was his words, not mine. Then the following year, it didn't seem like the interest was there. You know, some people linked him maybe to the Broncos. Nothing came to fruition. I guess he had a conversation with David Tepper. David Tepper and Harbaugh, I do not think would mesh, but nothing came out of it. So that was back-to-back off seasons where he flirted with the NFL. After the previous offseason, he said, I didn't get the Vikings job. This won't be a yearly thing. I'm a Michigan man. I'm here to stay for Michigan. And now, depending on what reports you believe, let's just say that report by the Wolverine is accurate, that, okay, it's about $11 million in annual salary, and all it precludes him from doing is interviewing for an NFL job this offseason. Does that really sound like a guy that wants to stay? Does that sound like someone that is fully intending on being the Michigan coach for the duration of that contract? Doesn't sound like that way to me. And I'm not questioning Jim Harbaugh's love for Michigan. He played at Michigan. He coaches Michigan. He loves Michigan. But he's also not a dummy. And right now, Jim Harbaugh, who wants to fight, Jim Harbaugh, who doesn't like to lie down, and Jim Harbaugh, who wants to do things his way, is most likely going to be out a significant amount of next season. Because, sure, he served a 3-game suspension from the Big Ten. You know the NCAA is going to want to add on, fair or not, behind this jackassery of the sign-stealing scandal. But then there was also a pending issue with some recruiting violations that took place during COVID, where if you recall, Michigan self-imposed a 3-game suspension on Jim Harbaugh. They thought that was going to go away before the start of the season. There was going to be an agreement, and then that was a self-imposed suspension because the infractions committee and Jim Harbaugh couldn't come to a compromise because they wanted Jim Harbaugh to genuflect. They wanted Jim Harbaugh to say that he was wrong, he lied, and they wanted him to take it on the chin. So now you have the NCAA creating a pattern with Harbaugh, linked to Harbaugh, where they're annoyed at him, and there's going to be some extra suspension. Now, Harbaugh could go about this 2 ways. One, he could say, I don't give a bleep what the NCAA says. The NCAA, I just had to sit out 3 games from the Big Ten, and guess what? My team beat Penn State without me. They beat Maryland, and they beat the Ohio State, and I walked right back in. So maybe he just doesn't care. Or he may look at this and say, you know what? The lawyers told me to sit down with the Big Ten and that pending litigious situation when everyone thought he was going to get granted an injunction, and he didn't. So maybe I will change my approach if I'm staying at Michigan and just take whatever punitive action there is or work together with the NCAA to come to some compromise. But when I hear that and when I say that, there's like a little voice that goes off in my head and says, yeah, that's not the way that Jim Harbaugh operates. And also, he keeps on dipping his toe into the NFL waters, but no NFL team since the 49ers has offered him a contract and has said, we want you to be an NFL head coach. So when I go through this and I look at the decision by Harbaugh, if you go back to Michigan, you are banking on the NCAA doing the right thing and the NCAA not crucifying you and crushing you with the suspension. And say what you want about Harbaugh. Whatever you say about Harbaugh, I don't trust the NCAA at all. So you have now, as a coach for Jim Harbaugh, have won the Big Ten 3 times. You have now kicked the crap at Ohio State and have won back that rivalry. And now Ryan Day is shaking in his boots. Yes, as a competitor, you want to keep that foot on the gas pedal and you want to keep on riding through college football. But it's clear, even when that should be what he's doing, he keeps on having the NFL on his mind. Because even though he hasn't won a national championship at Michigan, he has restored Michigan football. And as the competitor that Jim Harbaugh is, it's probably eating at him that he had a contentious relationship with Trent Baalke in San Francisco. They had a team, a lot of it because of Harbaugh's coaching, that in 4 years, they got to the Final Four 3 times, and they got to the Final 2 in the Super Bowl 1 time, which, oh yeah, by the way, he lost that Super Bowl in an epic Super Bowl where it looked like the Ravens were going to win big, and then the 49ers, after the blackout, made this great comeback, and then they lose the game. He lost that game to his brother. So I keep on looking at the question of, is Harbaugh making the right decision? And let's say he accepts this this new contract and it precludes him from going to the NFL this offseason. I just don't think he's making the right decision. Because the last 2 years, whatever the reasons are, he was not given an offer. But this year, we could have upwards like 10, 11 jobs open up. and some pretty damn good jobs. You know, Buffalo maybe open up. If Buffalo doesn't open up, the Chargers will open up. So do you want to go through this fight and this battle with the NCAA where they are going to hit you with the suspension, I don't know how long, or would you rather walk into an NFL locker room in, let's say, Los Angeles, where you have Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Quentin Johnston, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Derwin James, and you have a team that is looking for a coach to save this group because Brandon Staley has been so incompetent as an NFL head coach. And oh yeah, by the way, you don't have to deal with recruiting. You don't have to deal with NIL. And you don't have to deal with the pettiness of the NCAA. So as much as I would respect Harbaugh giving that middle finger to the NCAA and saying, I'm going to stay here whether you like it or not and be the head coach of Michigan, I think it's the wrong decision when there's a ton of attractive jobs out there in the NFL and you have proven that you are a damn good NFL head coach. Why stay at Michigan? Why go through this ringer that the NCAA is going to put you through because they're still mad that you didn't take it on the chin and you didn't bow down to them and you didn't say, yeah, I committed these infractions. And now there's another scandal going out there. The NCAA doesn't usually operate in what's right or wrong. They sweep a lot of things under the rug. They operate on if you cooperate with them. And also, I don't know how long this process is going to take too. So you may skate free from one, but then they'll come back for the other. So why go through that mess? Why keep yourself in that situation? And maybe there's $11 million a year why you would stay there. But the NFL money's going to be there. And the lifestyle's better. And you don't have to deal with all this other crap that you have to do if you stay at Michigan with the NCAA.
How much do you think the result of this year's playoffs factor into Harbaugh's decision? Like if he wins the national title, more or less likely to go. If he goes one and done against Alabama, more or less likely to go. How do you think the playoffs, if at all, impact his decision?
I would say, now, we also have to factor in, does he sign this before that, number one? And number two, is that clause in there that he can't take a job in the NFL this offseason? So let's just say he signs the new deal, or let's actually do it this way. He punts this decision until after the playoff. I think he wins a national championship, he leaves. I think if he doesn't win a national championship, it makes him more of the mindset of let me try again, but I don't think it fully prevents him from leaving because maybe he feels internally, hey, I restored my alma mater. I brought them back. You know, I beat Ohio State 3 times. I've won 3 straight Big Ten championships, and it also only gets harder from here. Because if I can't win a playoff with no Georgia in it this year, and also I'm the number 1 seed, and I get it, Alabama's not your traditional number 4 seed, but the number of teams in the playoff only goes up after here. It's going to be tougher to win the playoff from here on out. And also, I'm not saying that they struggle in recruiting, but you have this core that you really developed where a lot of those guys came back in for one last stand, and then he left. So long answer short, I think it's easier to leave if you win it all. I do think you may have that feeling of being close if you get to a national championship this year and then go down. But ultimately, I just weigh the positives and the negatives. And with that dark, ominous cloud of the NCAA Samter still standing in the way and not knowing how they're going to rain on your parade, I just take the easier lifestyle and an opportunity that you know you're not going to have to put up with all this bull junk. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We will take a break. When we come on back, lots of pressure on the Buffalo Bills this weekend and Josh Allen. What's the future of the Bills moving forward? And we'll also sprinkle in 2 other QBs as well that are under pressure this weekend. Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The The Zach Gelb Show is on the air across the nation on CBS Sports Radio.
Jacksonville is kind of the team where if you want to equate it to a freshman quarterback, that's a 4 or 5-star recruit in college, and there's so much expectation, there's so much buzz, there's so much hype. And then you get him on the field and you go, yeah, that quarterback is too young. That quarterback is not ready to play. And that's what you're seeing right now with the entirety of the team in the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Here's Zach Gelb.
It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. You could stream the NFL on Westwood One for free. Sponsored by AutoZone. All season long, you can listen to every Westwood One broadcast of the NFL Live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. AutoZone's free battery testing and charging is available for free at your local AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. Major weekend for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. The season is on life support. I am not optimistic that they are going to make the playoffs. With that being said, I love the Buffalo Bills this week. And the reason why I love the Buffalo Bills this week is every Tom, Dick, and Harry's going to give you this analysis. Oh, well, Kansas City lost last week. There's no way Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are going to lose back-to-back games. Not going to happen. And they're at home. That makes me say everyone's counting out Buffalo. I love the Bills this week. They're only plus 102 on the money line, and they're a 1.5-point dog. I think this is a monster performance by Josh Allen. And what gets lost in Josh Allen's play up against the Eagles before they got into that bye week and now they're going to play Kansas City is that he played a really good game in a tough place to play in Philadelphia. And all we'll do is look back at the interception, and we'll also look at the last play on offense where he had Gabe Davis wide open, and either Gabe Davis ran the wrong route or Josh Allen was not on the same page with Gabe Davis and threw the ball the wrong way. But Allen in that game, because this is what we do, we kind of evaluate quarterbacks on only wins and losses. And if they win, right, you get all the praise in the world and they can play sloppy. But if they lose, oh, it's all in the quarterback. Like, I look back at that game, Josh Allen played a damn good football game. And now, like, a lot of people are saying, oh, how good is Josh Allen? Josh Allen's still a top 4 quarterback in the NFL. Like, the 4 best quarterbacks in football, when everyone's healthy, you have Mahomes, you have Burrow, you have Josh Allen, and it's Jalen Hurts. And probably, you have Rodgers still when he's healthy too. Let's not forget about him in the top 5. But no one's going to give the Bills a chance this week. Everyone's going to be on Kansas City. And even though the Bills, I think, win this week, I just still don't know what to make of them for the rest of the season, because it would kind of fit the mold of Buffalo, where they win a game that no one's going to pick them to win, and then the rest of the season they disappoint. Because that's been the problem with Buffalo. They've never been able to hit that rhythm this year. Like, even when they had a 3-game win streak, you beat the Raiders and the Commanders, so what? And then had a dominant performance up against Miami. But this has really been a seesaw ride of the season where you lose to the Jets, you win 3 in a row, then you lose to Jacksonville, okay, you beat the Giants, you lose to the Patriots, then you beat Tampa Bay, you lose back-to-back games, Cincinnati and Denver, then you beat the Jets, and then you lose to the Eagles in overtime. There's been no consistency here. And these next 2 games, like, I'll say it right now, I think they beat Kansas City this week, and then the following week they lose to the Dallas Cowboys. That's just the way that this Bills season has gone, where whenever you think they're starting to figure it out, they go the other way. So this year for Buffalo, I think we have to ask 2 questions. Is this just one year where they've been so close and then they don't have the bounces go their way and they're just not finding a way to get it done this year? Or is this a long-term concern for the Buffalo Bills? And I always want to say that the team's going to have a chance with Josh Allen as your quarterback. So take Allen out of the equation. I believe in Josh Allen. Josh Allen's going nowhere. He's a stud. He's unbelievable. And yes, there's sometimes he has too many turnovers, but he's there for the long term, and they pay him a lucrative salary. But it's everyone else. Like on defense, you're going to have Tre'Davious White coming off another injury. Matt Milano, who's the leader of that defense, coming off an injury. I don't even know what's going to happen with Von Miller. He has not got back into good form on the field this year, coming off a major injury. And now he has a pending situation where the allegations against Von Miller are extremely ugly and extremely nasty. So defensively, with maybe McDermott coming back or not, McDermott taking the reins of the defense. I know we had Leslie Frazier on a few weeks ago. It seems like he would love to coach again. Maybe they bring back Leslie Frazier. So defensively, there's a lot of questions in an offensive league where their defense, even though they've been number one at times the last few years, they have not got the job done in the big moments. And then offensively, this is a fair question to ask, and it's one that is going to be hanging over the Bills' heads for a while, even when he shows like signs of being a good teammate, but then there's other moments where it looks like he's not happy. And you have your brother, Trayvon Diggs, tweeting out like, oh, you got to get Josh Allen out of Buffalo after that loss to the Broncos. Will Stephon Diggs request a trade this offseason? And Steph Diggs could put on this front like everything's good. He loves Buffalo. He loves his teammates and all that. We have seen a divorce before with Stephon Diggs and another organization. It was the Minnesota Vikings that landed him in Buffalo. So I really have three questions with the Bills this offseason. And this will determine if this year was just an anomaly, because I don't think they're making the playoffs this year. And even if they make the playoffs, I just don't believe that they're going to get hot at the right time and that they're going to find a way, because they won't be a divisional winner. They won't have the number one seed. So you're going to have to win 3 games, wild card weekend, divisional round, and conference championship weekend to get to that big Super Bowl in Las Vegas, take home the Lombardi Trophy. So I just don't believe in this team this year. But what questions the long-term success of this franchise will be off 3 things this year. Number 1, is McDermott back? Because I believe that Sean McDermott has reached his apex in Buffalo. Number 2, will Stephon Diggs be on this team next year? And then also number 3, what improvements are you going to make to the defensive side of the ball? And depending on how those 3 answers come to us, we'll determine if this year was just a one-off or if this will continue a time from where we thought Buffalo was going to be that team. We thought Buffalo was going to be all that. And then it starts to slowly trend in the wrong direction. And then you're in that state of NFL mediocrity where, yeah, you could go win 10, 11 games, but you're not really a threat. You have a great quarterback, but you don't have the rest around him that's ready to go. And I think they also have to figure out their offensive identity too. Because they keep on saying you want Josh Allen to do less. And in the big moments, you're asking Josh Allen to do the most when you have a little adversity. And whether it's been Devin Motor Singletary or then you now bring in James Cook, there has not been consistency at that running back position where you give the ball, you give the rock to a running back, and you take some of the food off the plate of Josh Allen. But with all those things being said, and even though there's a long-term concern with the Buffalo Bills, I love the Bills this weekend up against the Chiefs. So I think there's an enormous amount of pressure on Josh Allen to do well. You win this game, some people will think, okay, maybe they're starting to move back in the right direction. You lose this game and you fall below 500. Man, like Cincinnati at least has the scapegoat. And I know the Bengals are just coming off a win against the Jaguars. You go up, our quarterback Joe Burrow got hurt. But Buffalo doesn't make the playoffs this year. Outside of the injury to Rodgers, the Buffalo Bills have to be the most disappointing team and the disappointing story in the NFL. Now, 2 other quarterbacks that I think are on tremendous amount of pressure this week. Dak Prescott, you don't win this game this week, and you don't get a victory up against Philadelphia, everyone's take on Monday is going to be this. We got fooled by the Cowboys. Now, I know I won't be fooled by the Cowboys because I've been telling you since the start of the season, they'll win 11, 12, 13 games. They'll get a wild card spot. But in the big games, they're going to choke, and they're not going to perform well. All right, you get blown out against the 49ers. Everyone has been getting blown out by the 49ers. That's one thing. But then the Cowboy fan has really taken a moral victory lap over that performance in Philadelphia up against the Eagles because you knew you would see them again, and because Dak played well in the game, but they still lost the game. So this is a week for Dak. You could have good stats. You could have prodigious stats, but you got to go get the W. And I don't think the Cowboys get the W. I think this is a close game. I think this is going to be a fun game to watch. But Philadelphia getting blown out by the 49ers. Now people starting to question them. I think this is a tough landing spot for the Cowboys to be sitting there and seeing this Eagles team and a PO'd Eagles team that's now getting questioned coming into town at Jerry's World. And then also, I do not like the Seahawks this week. You know, Ross Tucker said it yesterday. It's the only argument to make for Seattle that maybe it's a letdown for the 49ers because of that, how much emotion and how much attention there was in that Eagles game where they just dominated the Philadelphia Eagles. But the more and more I look at the Seahawks, and don't get me wrong, Geno Smith, he played well in a loss up against Dallas. But you see the talent this team has with Tyler Lockett, who's one of the more underrated wide receivers in the league. DK Metcalf, who is just an athletic freak. Jackson Smith and Jigba, who was my favorite receiver in this past NFL draft class. And now he's starting to find a little momentum with that performance last week up against the Dallas Cowboys. Like, you have three tremendous wide receivers. You got two young running backs in Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker that you just drafted in back-to-back years. And you have a young secondary with Woolen and Witherspoon as well, that you're starting to see the Seahawks team get back to a really competitive level where even though the record 6-6 last year, they made the playoffs. And then this year, they kind of been like Buffalo, where no one thought Seattle was elite. Like, people thought the Bills were elite. But Seattle has kind of been up and down this year as well, and they're in jeopardy of falling a game below 500. And even though I think Geno is solid, I don't think you take that next step with Geno Smith. And you look around the league, I don't know who's going to be available this offseason. It's not like you just move on from Geno to move on from Geno. They just gave him a new contract. But if a name becomes available, and we've seen a lot of quarterbacks get traded throughout the last few years, or leave a team via free agency, I don't think you totally dismiss it just because you gave him a new contract. And Seattle would definitely be attractive. You got a heck of a coach in Pete Carroll. You got three really good weapons. You got two young running backs. And you got a young, up-and-coming secondary where they're trying to bring that Legion of Boom back to Seattle. All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We will take a break. When we come on back, it is a Thursday, so it's time for a Zach Gelb Show PSA when we return in 5 minutes. Update time first. Here he is, the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
Well, Tom Brady isn't walking through the door for the Patriots tonight. They're in Pittsburgh to face the Steelers to open Week 14. Bill Belichick suffering through his worst season in New England. His team is 2-10 and faces a foe tonight that doesn't beat itself often.
They don't make a lot of mistakes. They're not a heavily penalized team. They don't turn the ball over a lot. They do a good job of taking the ball away. They're a good fundamental team, and you got to go out there and play a good football game to beat them.
Bailey Zappi will be the Patriots' starting quarterback. Or likely at least. The Steelers coming off a loss Sunday and are now 7-5. They won't have Kenny Pickett following ankle surgery. Mitchell Trubisky starts. Robbie Gould officially announced his retirement after 18 NFL seasons. With Michigan in the college football playoff, the school and Jim Harbaugh reportedly discussing a 5-year, $55 million extension. Marvin Harrison Jr. said today he's yet to decide on his future regarding the NFL draft. Masters champ John Rahm is joining Live Golf. And the semifinals of the first in-season NBA tournament takes place tonight in Las Vegas. First up will be Indiana, Milwaukee, followed by New Orleans and the Lakers. I'm Rich Ackerman.
He always has a rant. He always has a take. He's Jim Rome, and he's only on CBS Sports Radio. CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio.
There's morons and then there's Josh McDaniels as a head coach. And this jackass goes, oh, don't you talk about the Patriots that way. It is one of the more inconceivable things and laughable things that I've ever heard. The great Larry David couldn't even write that script of comedy. McDaniels must have known he was getting fired, and he was auditioning for Saturday Night Live. Because when I heard that over the weekend, my chest was hurting because I was laughing. I fell down. I hit the floor because Antonio Pierce came and saved your ass. And you go, nope, I'm going to throw more gasoline on the fire. How dare you, Antonio Pierce? talk badly about Bill Belichick.
This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Today's memorable moment is sponsored by Prevagen. Prevagen is the most recommended memory support brand by pharmacists. The last time the Steelers and Patriots squared off was in Week 2 of the 2022 season. New England won by a score of 17-14 behind 252 passing yards and a touchdown by Mac Jones, along with 124 rushing yards, courtesy of Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. Mitchell Trubisky, sometimes called Mitchell Trubusky, started for the Steelers and completed 21 of 33 passes for 168 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. And the Pats, who are the Steelers' daddy, they lead the all-time series 18-16. Let's hope that's 18-17 after tonight, because we are all aboard. Choo-choo! The Patriots tank train. And I have been on that train since week 3 of the NFL season. So let's continue to tank. It's kind of pathetic what my football fandom has turned into.
You sound like me.
I'm sorry, Stu. You're right. I understand your misery. Now, a little difference is I got 6 championships with it. But I have no interest in this game tonight. I think this is going to be an ugly, low-scoring game. We'll do a little bit more on this later on in the show. But I want my team to lose. And that's such a weird feeling when you go into a game and you sit on your couch and you watch and you want nothing to do with the victory, because it would be an empty victory and it would lead to just future disappointment and future problems, because you want the best draft pick available to hopefully get that franchise-altering player. So that's the way that I look at it. Now, all I ask, and I've been pretty good this year. Let me just talk to God here for a second. God.
Yes.
Wow, I didn't know God was going to join us here on CBS Sports Radio. I thought you'd have a little deeper voice, God, if I'm being honest with you. But,
sorry, I was drinking.
guess you were enjoying the company holiday party. But, God, whoever the Patriots take with the number 1 or number 2 overall pick, and I'm assuming it's going to be a quarterback, just please have that guy be good. I'm not even saying great. I'm not saying all-time great. But I don't think I could deal with being like every other NFL losing team for all those years, where you get rid of one guy, and that was the guy that was the greatest quarterback of all time, and then I have to deal with like Mac Jones and then Bailey Zappi and then some other bust, and you're drafting a new team or a new quarterback and a new bringing a new coach a few years after that. Just let's be like the Texans. You get the head coaching hire right, you get the quarterback right, and then away we go on that one. Santa's playing a small violin for me. I thought you were God.
I was. I still am, looking down upon you. I mean, talk to me when Brooks Bollinger and Mark Sanchez and Kellen Clemens, Greg McElroy, Geno Smith, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Bryce Petty.
Hey, you have the Sanchez.
Josh McCown, Sam Darnold, Luke Falk, Trevor Siemian, Joe Flacco, Zach Wilson, Mike White.
Sure.
You know what? You had Tom Brady for 20 years.
Yeah.
You deserve 20 years of crap.
Yeah, but if I get 20 years of crap, I'm not going to be bolting the bandwagon and going somewhere else like some fraud that I'm looking at right now.
Wait 20 years and tell me 20 years from now when you have Mac Jones and crap.
But here's the thing, though. You should actually feel bad for me. And here's why.
Nope.
I'm actually a victim here. Because no matter what happens the rest of my football fandom, nothing will come close to topping the last 20 years. And therefore, I'm never going to be able to experience joy again. Even if they win a Super Bowl, I'm going to sit back and go, it's not the dynasty. It's not the greatest coach. It's not the greatest quarterback of all time.
No, you're wrong. As a Yankee fan who saw 4 championships in, 5 years, 6 years, when you go a long period without a title and you win it again, no, but it's sports. It's your team.
Baseball, though.
But it's your team, right? The Yankees were always my team, more so than the Jets.
It's not the number one sport.
But it was my number one sport.
Okay.
So it was my biggest passion, right? And so at the end of the day, when you go through a dynasty, when there's a lull, that one title that breaks that lull means just as much as the 7 others that you had before then.
By the way, I have to defend you here. Totally shifting gears here. The people in the chat are just not nice to you. They're like, you look like a doofus. You look homeless. It's one thing when I joke and say those things.
Well, hold on a second. Yeah, they're getting this all from you.
But everyone's crying. I actually feel bad for you. I always make this relationship with myself and the producer. And I said this when I would used to lambaste Hickey all the time. I view the producer as my brother. It is fine if I go back and forth. with my brother. But then once someone else jumps in and tries to throw haymakers, I get very territorial. So, let's knock it off with Moist Mike in the YouTube chat, where people are saying he looks like a doofus. You know what? Say homeless, okay. A doofus, I don't like.
You know what? They can say whatever the hell they want to about me. The guys in the chat can call me the M word, M as in Michael, or that other word that I don't want to say that you call me all the time.
Moist.
M, I have to specify.
Yeah.
They can call me
Let's
that
refrain
word.
from
They
using
can
that
call
moving
me a
forward.
hobo. They can call me whatever they want to call me. I have no issues with it whatsoever, because at the end of the day, they wish they were me. They wish they were here. They wish they were able to dress like me in this seat, on this camera, across from you. So you know what? They can say whatever they want. It's all jealousy. Guys in the chat, I love you, but, come on. Come up with something better.
Wow. See, here's the thing. You defend Samter, and then you let him speak, and then he just, does it to himself. Right?
You don't need to defend me. I'm a big boy. I mean, I'm a small boy, but I'm a big boy.
All righty, let's get to a Thursday Zach Gelb Show PSA.
Warning.
It's a Thursday. What do you have to say? It's the weekly Zach Gelb Show PSA.
Who's with me? Let's go! Come on!
All righty, so it's a company holiday season. And I was actually very impressed with our company holiday last night. They had a nice little charcuterie spread. They had a nice little mac and cheese station, a taco station, pulled pork, pulled chicken. They had some penne alla vodka as well. They had some drinks. And I wasn't planning on staying as long as I did. And I didn't have a drink at the start of the company holiday party in this building. But then the company also rented out a bar afterwards, a block up from the studios. So I said, you know what? Let me go to the company holiday party. I'll go to the first party, then to the second party, then I'll go home. At the company holiday party, I had a few drinks. Did not have too many drinks. So that is number one. Don't have too many drinks at the company holiday party, because you don't want to be the talk of the office the next day. Number two, my other PSA for company holiday party etiquette. Make sure you rub elbows and you got to kiss up a little bit and talk to the bosses that are there. It will only help you because they see you in a social setting, and I think it also eases some future conversations. And then finally, if you are going up to someone at the company holiday party, don't talk to that person way too long. You don't want to be the person at your company holiday party that corners someone and there's nowhere to go and it turns into a 40-minute conversation. No one wants to talk to their coworkers for 40 freaking minutes. All right? So just make sure. I am a talk show host. You have a bunch of other people at the company holiday party. I walk into the company holiday party and I was the only talent that was there, the only talk show host that was there. So a lot of people want to talk to you. Keep it moving at all company holiday parties. 5 minutes, and then when you make your eighth joke that isn't funny, some internal clock should go off. Keep it moving. So there is my PSA on some company holiday party etiquette that can make you look good in the office the next day. Samter, what do you got?
All right, well, I'm going to go to the world of golf, because I know we do a lot of golf on this show, and I
love golf.
I honestly don't care much about golf. I don't play golf. I don't really watch golf all that much, except Tiger at his peak. But Jon Rahm this week or today signed on with Liv.
Okay.
Right? $300 million. No one's going to begrudge a guy for signing away $300 million over 3 years and an ownership stake. No one's going to begrudge him unless you say things like this in the past. The only appeal I see is monetary, right? There's a lot more to be able to play for besides just money on the PGA Tour. There's history. There's legacy. I've never played the game of golf for monetary reasons. I play for the love of the game.
Liar.
I want to play against the best in the world. I laugh when people rumor me with Live Golf. I've never liked that format. You know what? Here's my PSA. No one's going to care if you take the money. Whether it's coaches or players or Jon Rahm and Liv. But don't knock it and knock it and knock it and then just become a giant hypocrite and then do the exact thing that you've been knocking.
Well, that's what the PGA did, though.
But it doesn't. Sure, PGA too.
If this was a PSA that you had 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, I'd actually agree with it. But once you had that merger that occurred, everyone that took the money, that got yelled at for taking the money, was basically proven to be right. Now, I agree with you. Those guys at first should have just said, yeah, I don't agree with the Saudis and everything, and their principles, but I'm just taking the money to take the money. And I think we would understand that. Instead, they were trying to prove a point to the PGA. Personally, Live, PGA now, it's all out the window once they had that merger.
So for me,
For
I'm going back to, I don't really care all that much about golf. For me, it's more about coaches who say, I'm never leaving for the NFL.
Yeah.
And then a week later, they're in the NFL.
So your PSAs don't lie.
Players who say, I want to retire with so-and-so, and then 2 weeks later, they're demanding a trade. John Rahm, who says, I will never play and live. It's ridiculous. I don't like the format. I don't play this game for money. And then he takes the money.
Okay.
So my PSA is about lying, hypocrite sports figures, or just people in general. Right? If you're going to do something,
like
just don't knock something and then do it. If you're going to knock it, stand by your laurels, stand by your morals, stand by who you are as a human being, and stand up for yourself. Don't just cower back down and become a hypocrite.
Do you like
that
Nick
drives me
Saban,
crazy.
by the way?
Huh?
You like Nick Saban, by the way?
Not really.
Okay. Oh, he once said he was never going to be the coach of Alabama, then became the coach of Alabama.
Yeah, no, I mean, I respect Nick Saban.
Yeah.
I don't really.
All righty, Stuart, what do we got cooking today?
All right, mine is sports fans of their teams that believe they can acquire players from other teams without giving anything up. It's the classic sports radio caller who, I want X and X 2-star players from this team, and I want to offer them our 8 worst prospects. I have a good friend who is a Yankees fan who is actually disappointed with the Juan Soto trade.
No, he's an idiot.
He's an idiot because, look, the Yankees didn't give up either of their 3 best prospects. They gave up a couple, average guys.
They gave nothing, really.
They gave really nothing. And then, it's just those people that think they can get the best of the best players for nothing. That's my PSA. Don't be that guy who calls the radio and says that.
Yeah. Oh, we don't want to give up Michael King. It's too much to get. Are you kidding me? Who gives a rat's ass if you give up Michael King? You have a generational player in Juan Soto. Stop. You're right. It's insufferable. And also, little quick PSA. All these loser Major League Baseball reporters that just tweet things. Oh, it's getting close. It's getting close. It's getting close. Tell me when the deal is done, too. Every year, one of these guys just tweet things that cover Major League Baseball, and all they do is say it's getting close, and then it goes to the other team. It's amazing that Soto actually got traded to the Yankees yesterday because you saw close all throughout the day, and eventually it did happen. All righty, there's some Zach Gelb Show PSAs on this Thursday. When we come on back, everyone kind of feels like Bill Belichick is done with the Patriots at the end of the season. What about Mike Tomlin? We discuss a little Patriots and Steelers next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Here we go. All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Here we go. It's the Patriots and the Steelers tonight. Here we go. And the Patriots maybe score at most 3 points tonight. If they get a touchdown, I would actually be surprised. That is how bad this offense is. Their defense is solid, and that's even without Matthew Judon and Christian Gonzalez, who've been out for a long time. But this offense is brutal. You know, I thought the Jets' offense was bad. Like, the Patriots' offense may be just as bad, if not worse. And tonight, it's like you get ready for a Thursday night football game. And for the Steelers, who do you market? All right, it's TJ Watt. I mean, they preview the Thursday night game. Last week when they were previewing this game, they put the image up of Bill Belichick. Because there's no Patriot player that you could promote right now. Like, Mac Jones isn't starting, so it's not the quarterback, and even so, Max Dunzo. It's Bailey Zappi. Ramondre Stevenson's out of this game with an injury. You have no wide receivers. And on the defensive side of the ball, you know, Judon is your household name, but he's out. He's injured. Not going to be like Christian Barrymore up there. So there is no one on the Patriots that you could market right now. Like, what are you going to do? Put up a guy that should be in the Hall of Fame one day, Matthew Slater, because he's a good special teams player? So it's Bill Belichick tonight in the Hoodies' final season, most likely in New England, against TJ Watt and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, real quickly, guys, let's go around the room here. Stu, how many points in this game tonight? Because, Samter, what's the over-under? It's like 30, and it's the lowest
30.
over-under in like, forever?
Yeah, it was 29.5, just went up to 30, which is the lowest over-under since the 2006 playoff game.
Oh.
And the stat I read was there hasn't been a over-under under 30 since 1996?
Wow.
1993, maybe?
How can anyone bet the over tonight? And I love betting overs because there is nothing worse than betting an under because you have to sit there and root for no points. And it's almost like sitting there and having to root for a team to tank for the entire season. So if you're betting the under tonight, here would be my advice. Go out for a nice dinner. Bet the under. Don't watch the game. And then come home and turn on the fourth quarter and hope after a good dinner, maybe with the missus, that, you get a little action in the bedroom too. And then you turn on to see if there was any scoring going on the football field. And you hope there was no scoring going on the football field. And maybe like 3 points at most to the Steelers. But like this over-under's at 30. Stu, real quickly, what do you think the score is going to be tonight?
Something like 17-6 Steelers.
17-6. So that under would hit. I'm not a math major. Samter, what's the score tonight?
You got Mitch Trubisky going against a Patriots team that hasn't allowed more than 10 points in 3 straight games, and a Patriots offense that has lost those 3 games in which their defense allowed less than 10 points. The score is going to be 9-3. I go 9-3 Steelers.
Oh.
How on earth are the Steelers going to move the ball against this Pats defense? And clearly Bailey Zappi or Mac Jones or whoever the hell it is not going to get more than 150 total offensive yards for the Patriots against TJ Watt and the Steelers defense. 9-3 is the best I'm giving you. Maybe 12-6.
You know what actually is a good bet tonight? Oh, I'm gonna play this bet. Steelers defensive touchdown. There has to be a defensive touchdown tonight by the Steelers with TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith as well. I would make 2 plays on this game tonight. I'm going to put a parlay together. Under, same game parlay. Under, I'm going to put 3 plays in this. Steelers money line, and then a defensive touchdown. I have no clue what the odds are on that. I will fire up my FanDuel app after this segment. Steelers money line, under, and then I will take an anytime defensive touchdown for the, here we go, with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think this is a 14-3 game tonight. Trubisky gets a touchdown. Alex Highsmith gets a touchdown. And the Patriots get a field goal. They got a field goal. Man, do you think Al Michaels, who sounds as if he has no interest doing these games and there's no energy with Al Michaels, who's a legendary broadcaster, right? Like a creme de la creme, Mount Rushmore of broadcasters in sports. How the heck does a legend like that, and I know he's getting paid a fortune, but he looks at Kirk Herbstreit tonight, and Herbstreit, right, has been doing all these great college games all throughout the year, and the 2 of those guys have to sit in a booth in Pittsburgh in a cold game. It's snowing outside here in New York City. God knows what the weather's like in Pittsburgh. And they got to call this game tonight. Some people are good at manufacturing energy and excitement. I don't even know how you would get anyone excited for this game tonight. I don't. I think you bet the under tonight. You bet anytime touchdown for the Steelers. And then you also go Steelers money line. I think those are 3 plays tonight. Hey, by the way, Samter, do we have that gambling clip real quickly? What is this on Fox News? Where was this?
This was on CNBC. Her name is Meredith Whitney, talking about why gambling and especially DraftKings stock has soared over the past few years, and her reasoning is flawless.
It's crazy. I'm seeing this all over social media right now. Play it.
It's all young men. 63% of young men are single, and that's the highest it's ever been. And 50% of those young men have no interest in dating, not even casually. And 30% of young men say they have not had sex in over a year and don't seem to care. So the point being,
because they're getting pleasure out of sports betting instead.
Young men who've grown up with gaming are used to doing everything on their phone, and now they can do all sorts of betting on their phone, and it's been explosive.
Wait.
Explosive. I think that she used the wrong word at the end there.
I was at a press conference and someone asked Doug Peterson, did Carson Wentz have a premature explosion this year? and Doug Peterson lost it. He had to walk off the podium before coming on back. Wait. Who is this? Who's this gal? What's her name one more time?
Meredith Whitney.
She's an idiot. I don't care what the statistics say. She's saying because people are getting so much pleasure out of sports gambling and winning that they have no desire to get any pleasure in the bedroom. That makes no sense whatsoever. And also, you don't win enough in gambling to have enough pleasure where you don't want to have any bam chicka wamp wamp time in the bedroom. What the heck is this lady talking about?
Now, the question is, are men not interested, young men not interested in the bow chicka bow wow because they're gambling?
No!
Or are they losing interest in the bow chicka wow wow and they're filling that time?
Just
and one of the
nookie
things with
time.
video games and gambling, because we see there's rise in video game play, right? So, like, how are you, knocking boots when you're playing video games for 14 hours a day?
You could have proper management. I was about to say load management. That would not have worked. You could properly utilize your time playing video games, gambling, and then trying to go out on a date and get lucky in the bedroom. I put it this way. I have never won a bet where my reaction is, yep, I have no more sex drive anymore. I have no interest of going out on a date. That's the dumbest. What numbers are those? Who even does this survey that comes up with those erroneous numbers?
So I cut it out of the clip. It's the Pew Research Center, which they do.
The who?
Pew Research Center.
Are they credible?
Pew is like the source of sources when it comes to.
But who are these people they're
variety of
talking to?
Research. What?
Who are the people that they're talking to?
I don't know. But here's the thing, though. I don't know necessarily if she's saying that they don't have a sex drive because they're gambling.
That's what it sounds like to me.
I think what she's saying is that people don't have a sex drive, and therefore they are gambling. They're finding gambling to be more interesting than the It's not that they're losing their sex drive because they're gambling.
But here's the fundamental flaw with this argument. Now we're talking about this because gambling is legalized in most states. What do you think? For all these other years, people weren't gambling? I understand it's easier to access gambling, but if these rates are as high as ever, I don't think it's because all of a sudden gambling has become legal. Like, my father used to gamble a lot of money. He doesn't gamble anymore. Did Bob Gelb have no interest in pursuing a romantic relationship because he was winning too much gambling? Last time I checked, I had a mother. They've been happily married for a long time.
Well, here's the thing, though. It's different now, much different now than when your dad was in those. Because, for me, when I was growing up,
to access it.
Yeah, for me.
But when I was in a fraternity, gambling wasn't legal. We had a bookie in the frat house. We placed all of our bets through him.
That's fantastic. And you also grew up, 15 years younger than me when I was growing up.
Yeah, you're an old man.
I am an old man. When I was growing up, the only people who I knew who, gambled consistently was, that sketchy guy at the bar who would sit there and watch the horse races while everyone else was drinking, having fun, and hitting on girls.
Are you that naive, though? When you were a kid thinking
none of
you
my
don't think
friends
all your
consistently gambled.
Okay, your friends. What age are we talking about?
I mean, I'm 43 right now, so this was in college, late 90s, early 2000s.
But none of your friends gambled when in college?
Every now and again, we'd place a fun bet, or maybe I had a friend or two who would once in a while go to a bookie. I know nieces, nephews, family members who are in their late teens, early to mid 20s, and gambling is a significant portion of their life. I knew zero people in my life when I was growing up in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Zero people in my life where gambling was a significant part of their life.
But were they being honest with you, or were they just trying to hide the gambling because it was frowned upon back then? That's the other thing.
I mean, It's possible, but like there was not a single person who I knew where gambling was a part of their life. And maybe they were hiding it, but like it's not like they ever had a problem and had a gambling issue. I don't know a single person in my life who was like that. Now I know dozens, and a lot of the ones who I know are young males. Now some have girlfriends, but I do also see this huge rise in video game play.
Well, like, put it this way. I am in a group chat with 5 of my closest friends. 3 of 5 friends are married, and the other 2 are in relationships. We have this group chat to give our gambling picks to one another so we could all ride the same picks for that week and back them or not. That's a small sample size, but I don't think anyone's ever said, I got to place this parlay and I'm not going to go out on a date or something like that.
Well, so I think part of the issue is not that they're avoiding the dates because of the parlay. I think that they just aren't interested in going on the date. And so, like, what am I going to do instead of going on a date? Like, let me play video games and let me bet. Let me gamble. It's so easy.
I don't know.
I don't think that there's a significant portion of people who are just saying, like, oh, you know what? I don't want to, like, go get some action tonight because I got to watch this game and make a bet. But I do think there are a lot of guys who were like, you know what? Dating is the third or when I was growing up, like, for me, and I'm sure for you too, dating, hooking up with girls, going out drinking, being social with my friends was like my number one priority. That's all I cared about. I think now it's like the priorities have changed. But the dating part of it and the getting with the girls is maybe just it's secondary behind other things that they could be doing that they enjoy more.
Yeah, I don't know how like I get the prioritizing and all of it, but hey, you want to have fun, you want to go out with a girl, and you want something with sports, right? Like those are the man's man. Like growing up, those are the 3 things. Social life, going out with some girls, and then also having some sports as well. I can't see myself getting into a spot ever where it's, I'm so focused on the sports that, we have to forget about the social life and then also going out with girls. But maybe I'm a different person now. Maybe I'm not fit for 2023.
Hey, listen, man, the new man's man is TikTok, video games, and gambling. That's the new man.
All righty, real quickly, play me that clip one more time. I'm going to try to have an open mind here and listen to Samter's justification of this clip from what's this girl's name again who has all this info and is trying to tell us that you can't gamble and also you can't get laid and you got to pick one or the other. Who's this lady again?
So her name is Meredith Whitney. She's known as the Oracle of Wall Street.
Okay.
So she has made some moolah in the industry in understanding how stocks work.
Okay. One more time.
It's all young men. 63% of young men are single, and that's the highest it's ever been. And 50% of those young men have no interest in dating, not even casually. And 30% of young men say they have not had sex in over a year and don't seem to care.
My condolences.
The point
because they're getting pleasure out of sports betting instead.
Young men who've grown up with gaming are used to doing everything on their phone, and now they can do all sorts of betting on their phone, and it's been explosive.
Every time she says explosive.
Well, it's been explosive if you
it's
hit
actually
the bet.
not been explosive.
Not the other way, though.
It's just been the opposite of
You're
explosive.
in a dry well, all right? Jeez. So she's basically saying that the thrill, right, Santer? The thrill of winning money gives that person that fix and that thrill where they have no interest in having relations, let's just say.
That's kind of what it sounds like to me.
Man, I think those are 2 separate feelings. Don't get me wrong. I have never hit a bet, and I've hit some good bets where I'm like, wow, that's the greatest thrill. That's as great of a thrill as having sex.
I mean, they used to say that like eating chocolate had the same impact on your brain as having sex. So why can't
I like eating chocolate. It's not the same though.
No, I mean you're probably right, but I mean I've had some really good meals before where I'm like, I would have preferred this over a night with a lady tonight.
By the way, my mother just texted me. So that means she's listening to the show.
Uh-oh.
Ma, let's turn off the show for the last 10 minutes, all right?
I mean, Zach, let's also be honest. You've never been with a woman before. You're still...
What are you talking about?
You're still an unspoiled flower. You're a very sweet, innocent young boy.
Yeah. What are you going to tell me next? I'm saving myself for marriage or something?
Of course. I mean, especially with your mom listening, that's of course what you've told me.
Yeah, please. My mom's not an idiot. My mom's not a moron, and she ain't a dope. All right? It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We will take a break. We'll come on back. Legacies on the line. Belichick, Tomlin, what's their future? We'll talk about those two great coaches next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio.
I had no expectations for the Patriots heading into this season other than not making the playoffs. I was not a believer in this Patriot team. But why I'm waving the flag is they need to move on from Mac Jones at the end of this season. I still don't believe Bill Belichick is going to get fired. I still think when you win 6 Super Bowls and how close him and Robert Kraft are, that Bill Belichick will be afforded another opportunity next season.
This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
All right, it's Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. So after some further calculations, which did not limit my sex drive whatsoever, after logging on to one of these gambling apps, the bet tonight, Steelers defense, anytime touchdown, and the under is at plus 1,871. So that's the play tonight. I tried to sprinkle in the Steelers money line. It didn't really do much with the odds movement. So let's just do Pittsburgh defense anytime touchdown. The under of 30.5. Ooh, it's getting up there now. Is at plus 1,871. So that is the Zach Gelb Show gambling play for tonight in the National Football League. All righty. These two teams, that clip that we just played for you coming back from break, I guess is like a little outdated because now I think Belichick is gone from New England at the end of the year. You know, is there still some chance he's back? Yes. But with how many jobs are going to be opened up, and then also maybe Jim Harbaugh not being in the mix, if you believe that he's getting this extension and he can't search for a job this NFL offseason to go back to the pros, that's one big name off the board in Jim Harbaugh. There are going to be some teams, and the thought is Belichick will go for a first-round pick, that will be willing to give Bill Belichick the respected people and football minds in the NFL. But people are wondering, is it time to try something new in Pittsburgh? Personally, I don't think the Steelers should get rid of Mike Tomlin. I don't. But you could see maybe Belichick going for a first-round pick and then some. And even though Tomlin isn't the coach Belichick is, Tomlin is also significantly younger than Bill Belichick. Like, that's the complexity with trading for Bill. How much longer does he want to do this? He'll be 71, 72 years old. If you're going through a rebuild, do you trust Bill to rebuild? That's one thing. But is he going to rebuild the right way? Because most of the times of the rebuild, you go up, year 1's a wash, year 2 get better, then year 3 go be a contender. I don't think Belichick's going to want to have this 3-year plan. And if that was the case, he should just stay in New England. So I think he has to go to a spot that already has some made talent that's ready to go now. And I do think they'll find him that landing spot this offseason via trade. But for Tomlin, I go to one name and one team. And that's David Tepper with the Carolina Panthers. He needs to get this hire right. It didn't work out with Matt Rule. He gave him a 7-year deal. Didn't work out with Frank Reich. He got fired after 11 games. You now need to go and get someone that is the guy. And Matt Rule was a gamble, someone that had a lot of success in college. He then gambled with a experienced NFL head coach, but no one ever thought Frank Reich was this wizard as an NFL head coach. Tomlin is a top 5 NFL head coach. And Tepper used to have a stake with the Steelers. I think you call up the Rooney family this offseason and just say, what is it going to take for Mike Tomlin? And probably the Steelers are not ready to move on from Mike Tomlin. They're a very patient organization. There's not a lot of changes. Noel, Cowher, and then obviously Mike Tomlin. But could David Tepper, who doesn't have a first-round pick this year, so that has to be for a future draft, can they make you an offer that you can't refuse where you say, as much as we love Mike Tomlin and we have one of the best coaches in football, guy hasn't won a playoff game since the 2016 season. Samter, let me just ask you this question. I got 2 questions for you. Number 1, do you believe Bill Belichick is back in New England next year as the Patriots head coach?
I mean, it's so hard for me not to think of him with the Patriots, but there's been so much smoke and so much noise.
It kind of reminds you like when Brady was in that final year. And remember Schefter, I think it was up against your Jets. It was a Monday Night Football game. He said there's 3 options for Tom Brady next year. He retires, he's on a different team, or he's back in New England. And Schefter, who was giving his opinion, but whenever Schefter gives an opinion, it's, what information does he have? Schefter goes, returning to New England is the least likely of those options out of those 3. And that was 2-3 months of buildup all throughout that season. And for Belichick, it's now been 2-3 months of buildup where it really started on this show when Mike Florio joined us. And he was like, he's hearing chattering about the Commanders making a run for Bill Belichick. And ever since that moment with Florio, we have had 9,000 destinations and predictions of where Bill Belichick's going to be. And none of them are him going back to New England with the Patriots. All right, the other question. So you're leaning Belichick is not back?
I'm going to lean that way, which makes me crazy thinking about, like, I never would have said that. Even like 3 months ago, I was calling people who said that crazy, but now I'm starting to buy in.
I think Hot Take Hickey actually did a shower no cap video where he puts himself in the shower and gives these takes before the season, and he was like, Belichick's got to go at the end of the year. And I think I responded. My memory could be hazy here. I think I responded, it's time to clog your shower to Hickey with some of those takes that he was given, because I just couldn't envision Belichick away, and he may be right.
Hot Take Hickey or Visionary Hickey.
You know what? A blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while.
Clock is right twice a day.
Yeah, this is him finding a nut. All righty? Here's the other question. Tomlin, you think there's any chance? Out of 100%, you think there's any chance the Steelers trade Tomlin this offseason?
0.05%. I mean, I don't. Maybe if they just fall flat, but like Tomlin's,
they've never had a bad year.
He's been consistently great, and like at the end of the day, like
consistently good. One Super Bowl in Pittsburgh. I know he's been to another appearance. Never been below 500. I'm not saying he's a bad coach. The guy's a phenomenal coach.
Yeah.
But when you don't have a playoff victory since 2016, that's kind of crazy.
He's been consistently very good. Occasionally great. I don't think that, like, even when he's good,
he's not an immortal, but he's a phenomenal coach. Like, they're never going to fire him. He gets fired tomorrow, he becomes the hottest coach on the market. And even more so, there would be more demand for Tomlin this offseason than Belichick. And it's not because Tomlin's a better coach than Belichick. It's because he's younger. Like, I don't know how long Belichick's going to want to coach. Tomlin got at least 10 more years, if not north of that number, and he would be the number 1 name on the market this year.
I mean, I think Tomlin, first of all, we put out a poll. If you needed a coach right now, would you hire Belichick or Tomlin?
Where can I find that?
That's on CBS Sports Radio.
Okay.
73% right now say Tomlin, so it's not even close. I think a lot of people think Belichick is kind of at the tail end of not just his career with the Patriots, but just in general. But if you really think about the Steelers, is Tomlin the second best coach they've ever had? They don't have a lot of coaches. Noel to Cowher to Tomlin. So, like, I mean, are you putting Tomlin ahead of Cowher? I think I am. I love Bill Cowher, but I'm putting Tomlin over him.
I think Cowher probably gets the nod with most Steelers fans, and then Tomlin gets another Super Bowl. Then you move Tomlin in front of Cowher. I think they're like splitting hairs.
I mean, they both have one, right?
Yeah.
So they both have one. So I don't think he needs a second one. And he's never had a losing season. That doesn't happen in the NFL. Every year there's a team that goes from worst to first or first to worst. Doesn't matter. Every year he's consistent every year, and that does not happen in the NFL.
And the crappy part for the Steelers is when Big Ben was there in his later years, the defense was horrible. And now the defense is really good, and they haven't been able to figure out the offense. They just keep on swapping places, and they still are able to find a way to be that elite on one side of the ball where it's good enough to finish above 500. But I don't think it's because Tomlin's a better coach than Belichick. I just think it's because he's younger. And also, I think there's too many people that live in the moment with this Belichick-Brady stuff, where for years I said, you make me pick one, I pick Brady over Belichick. Because Belichick tells you players win. right? The players are the ones who win the championships. But now, since Brady won that Super Bowl and Belichick has only been to the playoffs once since seeing TB12 leave, and now this season is completely bottomed out, everyone's just piling on Bill. And also, Brady's more likable than Bill Belichick. And I say that as a fan of both human beings. But, I know Belichick does not have a great record without Brady, but he was the coach in Cleveland when they did defeat Bill Parcells in a playoff game when it was Browns up against the Patriots. When Matt Castle was the quarterback that year, they won 11 games with Matt Castle. When Brady was out for the Deflategate suspension, they were 3-1 that year. So I get it. It's not been good for Bill Belichick, but this idea that Bill Belichick now has forgotten a coach and Bill Belichick is this bum. Well, a lot of people would want that bum with the success that he's had with Bill Belichick. And let's not forget, the early stages of the dynasty, the Patriots were not known for offense. The Patriots were known for Bill Belichick's defense. And then once 2006, 2007 hit, that's when the numbers really started to pop offensively. And in the second wave of the dynasty, yes, Brady was the face, without question. But there would be a game like in Kansas City in the AFC Championship game where Belichick had a great first half game plan against the Chiefs. Then the Chiefs caught up. Then it was an epic back and forth battle where Brady was just surgical. Third down, boom, 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 right down the field. But then in the Super Bowl, that was against Sean McVay where the Rams only scored 3 points. So, I understand. I lean more the Patriots' success being Brady than Belichick. I've always leaned that way. But to now make it seem like it was 100% Brady and 0% Bill from some people is just crazy living in the moment, and it makes no sense to me. So if you need a head coach, who are you hiring, Belichick or Tomlin? That's the poll question right now. Belichick only at 25.7% and 74.3% go with Mike Tomlin. Now, who has the better press conferences? Those are the questions. Because Tomlin is so great. He sounds like a real military leader every time I hear Mike Tomlin. And then Belichick is not good talking to the media, but because of how much he hates and despises talking to the media, it almost has become extremely funny, especially when you know the way that he's going to answer questions. What press conference would you rather listen to?
I'd definitely rather listen to, because we can get a snippet of Belichick and find it funny, but imagine sitting through 15 minutes of that. Yeah. No, thank you. I'll listen to Mike Tomlin for 15 minutes. However, when you hear Belichick on EEI or some of those radio hits, he's much more open and he'll say things. And I've heard him say some really interesting things in some of these other interviews. So I like listening to Bill when he opens up. I saw him do something about the history of the NFL.
Oh, remember he won an Emmy with Rich Eisen on the NFL Top 100
list. And he's talking about
list.
Lawrence Taylor. He was giddy like a schoolboy. He was so excited talking about defenses and the history of the NFL and Lawrence Taylor this and that. When Bill Belichick opens up, he's super interesting.
When he wants to be a part of the conversation, 100%. He's great. But Tomlin is just soundbite gold after gold after gold, and he's inspiring. I could be having the worst day in the world. I listened to a Mike Tomlin press conference. I feel like I'm in that movie Animal House. We're let's go, 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 and everyone's leading the charge out of the out of Animal House. Tomlin can motivate anybody. You could have no motivation in life. You could have no vision. You spend 5 minutes with Mike Tomlin, you'll be the happiest person in the world. All righty, Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio. Come on back. We'll update you some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We call that segment the News Brief. But first up, with the latest CBS Sports Radio update, here is the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
Week 14 begins tonight in Pittsburgh, and the Steelers and Patriots. This one on paper looked good at the time the schedule came out. Not so much today. The Steelers are at 7-5, but won't have Kenny Pickett, who underwent surgery on his injured ankle earlier in the week. So Mitchell Trubisky gets the call.
I'm just trying to have a good mindset when I go in to do my job and help the team score. I can't really tell if there's a difference. I know I'm a lot more calm when I know I'm starting, so I don't have to worry about when I'm going in. I know I'm starting the game and can control it from there. So I'm looking forward to it.
The Patriots are a mess at 2-10. They'll likely start Bailey Zappi at quarterback. Veteran kicker Robbie Gould announced his retirement after 18 seasons in the NFL. He's 10th all-time in scoring. It looks as if Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh is staying in Ann Arbor for a little while. He and the school are reportedly in talks over a 5-year extension worth $55 million. Marvin Harrison Jr. said he's undecided right now about entering the NFL draft. And Masters champ Jon Rahm leaving the PGA Tour for Live Golf. The NBA's in-season tournament semifinals tip off today. The Pacers and Bucks get underway shortly. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Looking for CBS Sports Radio online? Your favorite hosts and the best sports content and entertainment are available 24/7 on social media and YouTube, and in the palm of your hand with the free Odyssey app.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, it is Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And this portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck at a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. So Ty Dunn, he is a phenomenal football writer. And he does these feature stories, which is kind of a lost art. But Ty Dunn, anytime he puts something out there, you have to read it. And there's always something that you learn. Well, I've just learned that Sean McDermott is a jackass. Because I saw a tweet earlier today of a quote about the terrorist on 9/11, and it was attributed to Sean McDermott. And I go, oh, this is just a Bills fan that is frustrated and wants Sean McDermott fired. And it's clearly a spoof. It's clearly not real. But this is 1,000% real. So this is now from the Ty Dunn article at St. John Fisher College in Pittsford, New York. McDermott's morning address began innocently enough. He told the entire team they need to come together. But then sources said on hand, he used a strange model, the terrorist, on September 11, 2001. He cited the hijackers as a group of people who were all able to get on the same page to orchestrate attacks to perfection. One by one, McDermott started asking players in the room questions. What tactics do you think they used to come together? A young player tried to methodically answer, what do you think their biggest obstacle was? A veteran answered TSA, which mercifully lightened the mood. So this is an article by Ty Dunn, who it shows the demise of Sean McDermott as the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. And Sean McDermott, I guess when addressing the team in training camp, is trying to show how they work together in a methodical way. And the point of reference that he uses are the terrorists in 9/11 and how smart they were to work together, where you hit both Twin Towers, you had a plane crash in an empty field in Pennsylvania, and you also hit the Pentagon. That's what you're using? Like, what are you going to do next? Praise like Hitler and how he worked together? Like, are you kidding me? That's what you're using to show to your team how we have to work together? 9/11? I used to be a big fan of Sean McDermott. I wanted Sean McDermott to be a head coach before anybody. McDermott's a moron. And it's amazing how many football coaches get caught up in their coaches speak and how we have to prove a point and be so intelligent with everything we say, and we have to use all these examples, and you use the terrorist in 9/11? Like, Sean, you don't just come up with this on the fly. Like, you're thinking about this. And you thought this was a good thing to tell your team? Oh, guys, what tactics do you think the terrorists on 9/11 used? What message are you sending to your players? This guy's an idiot. He is a true idiot. And I saw that he had to address this today at a press conference. My intent in the meeting that day was to discuss the importance of communication. I regretted mentioning 9/11 in my message that day, and I immediately apologized to the team. Sean, I get people make mistakes, but this isn't, honey said to me to go get some milk and you forgot the milk at the store. You know how many innocent people died that day? And to make a point of communication through all of the things that you could use, through all the examples that you could lose, you use 9/11 and the terrorists? Like, are you kidding me? How the terrorists work together? Ay, ay, ay. I am shocked. I really am. Like, I can't believe. When I saw it, I go, oh, that can't be real. Oh, that's fake. There's no way you could be that big of a moron. And he is. And, sorry if I'm getting worked up over this, but, even though I was very young for 9/11, I remember it like it was yesterday. Because my second grade teacher, I'll never forget this. I was in second grade in Miss Crumpier's class, and her father was in the building, one of the World Trade Center towers. And I remember being in the class when she got the call from the principal, and she was informed what happened, and you saw the look on her face because everyone knew her dad worked in the World Trade Center. And I live right now for the last 4 years a block from the World Trade Centers. So I walk past the Freedom Tower every single day. So, yeah, this is personal. I don't think I've ever shared this story before. I was actually lucky on that day because my dad was actually supposed to do a work event that day in the Windows of the World at the World Trade Center, and they canceled it a few months in advance. It was for that day when they were supposed to do the event. And I'm at least lucky that happened, but how many people lost their father, their mother, their aunt, their uncle, their grandparents that day? And you have this doofus in Sean McDermott trying to give an inspirational speech, and this, once again, moron is trying to show his team communication, and he uses the terrorists, the hijackers of 9/11, as an example? Like, I get it, we all make mistakes, but you can't make that mistake. I don't get how your brain works, how you use that as the example that your team should be fired up and, oh, look at the hijackers. Oh, look how they formed together and communicated to take down America? This is, seriously, I did not think when I walked into work this morning that we'd be talking about this. Samter could have told me, he could have sent me before the show, this is what Sean McDermott said, and I would have never, ever, ever believed this. All righty, we have the Sean McDermott audio. He was asked about this article by Ty Dunn at his press conference earlier today. Listen up.
My intent in the meeting that day was to discuss the importance of communication and being on the same page with the team. I regretted mentioning 9/11 in my message that day, and I immediately apologized to the team. Not only was 9/11 a horrific event in our country's history, but a day that I lost a good family friend. It was mentioning 9/11 in the context of the team meeting. That was the goal of the team meeting, was about the importance of communication.
Oh my
and
God.
Being on the same page as a team. This right here is very, very important to me, and something I take very seriously.
So he lost I didn't even know that. He lost a close friend in 9/11. And then, as an example to preach communication to your team, you're going to basically extol the terrorists that were responsible for your close family friend dying to show to your football team those terrorists had great communication? I want to pull my hair out right now. Seriously. That is one of the more just dumber things I've ever heard. It makes no sense. Like an idiot. And you know what? I don't usually call for people to get fired for things that they've said. But if you're the Pagula family, like look on the field this year. This team has not performed up to expectations. And there's one thing when you don't perform up to expectations, but now an old quote from an article surfaces of what McDermott said to the team, and it's true, and now you're like a laughingstock. You're a joke. McDermott, you're a joke. You're a good football guy, right? We all thought you were a good man before this. And now you're using the communication skills of the terrorists in 9/11 to try to get your football team all pumped up and learn the value of communication. It makes me sick. I literally want to vomit right now. Like, I have so many emotions going through my body right now. Like, I just want to punch Sean McDermott in the face and say, dude, how dumb can you be? That's garbage. That is just garbage. Absolute garbage from Sean McDermott. Man. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. I can't believe that we just had a conversation on that. And I kid you, I saw this an hour ago. I saw that tweet an hour ago. I go, article. McDermott can't be that dumb. No way. That's one of those fake tweets on someone trying to get you. Nope, it was real. And then you hear his audio, too. And he lost a close friend in 9/11. And you're using the terrorists to praise their communication skills. Whew. That's brutal. That is brutal. This is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Crumpled up my rundown here. So, about to tease what was next. Back to Jim Harbaugh we go. And some NFL destinations, if he's still entertaining, maybe going to the NFL.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio, hour number 3 of our radio program. I need to, go get a massage, or I need to go do, a little yoga or some deep breathing exercises. I am still fired up from the last segment that we just did, where, there's sometimes you just give a take and, you're slamming someone, and, it is what it is. It's part of the job. And, yeah, you're annoyed by it, but it doesn't, affect the way that you feel and affect the rest of your day. This article by Ty Dunn with Sean McDermott and exposing Sean McDermott just, makes me furious. And, I just went off on it for 20 minutes. And Sean McDermott, if you missed it, is the biggest moron on the planet these days. I have never gone from liking and supporting a coach more and then doing a 180 as quick as I've done on Sean McDermott, because the fact that at one training camp he thought it was a good idea, and if you're just getting into the car, it's almost as if you're not even going to believe what the words that are going to come out of my mouth, that he thought it was a good idea to basically use the terrorists of 9/11 and their communication skills to attack our country, and how he wanted to show a message of communication to his team using that as the example. I said it 9,000 times in the last segment. It's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard a human being use as an example. And I just had this feeling in my body right now where I am just angry, really angry and annoyed with how sensitive of a topic that is. And even as sensitive a topic as it is to him, because we just played you the audio, he had a friend die in 9/11. And he would just use that as an example to show a message to your team? Oh, it makes me sick. It really does. But we'll try to move on here. Nicole Auerbach's going to join us coming up in about 18 minutes from now. College football insider for The Athletic. Also works for NBC Sports. So we'll chat some college football happenings with her. And when we get into college football, there's a few reports out there today that the Michigan Wolverines and Jim Harbaugh are zeroing in on a long-term extension, be about $11 million a year on a 5-year contract. And the Wolverine is reporting that there would be a clause in that contract that's being talked about right now that Jim Harbaugh couldn't pursue an NFL job this offseason. Now, the whole thing to me, my antenna's up on this one. And, I'm just trying to figure out what's Jim Harbaugh's long-term goal. What's his vision? Because for Jim Harbaugh, we know you want to go back to the NFL. You wouldn't have sat in a 12-hour meeting and an interview with the Vikings if it was just for a contract negotiation. And then last year, you knew he dipped his toe in the NFL waters again, but it didn't feel like the NFL was interested in him. So now you're going to go probably agree on it. I'll believe they'll agree on the extension when it happens, because how many times have we heard they're close and then something happens and blah, blah, blah with Jim Harbaugh. But now you're going to agree on a 5-year deal that's going to pay you about $11 million. $11 million a year. And that isn't enough to say to Michigan that you're all in on Michigan. And there's still that fear that Harbaugh will go back to the NFL, where you need to put a clause in the contract. It's not even, you don't talk to the NFL for the next 2-3 years. It's just this offseason. So what? Harbaugh going to get a new deal or get more money added on, and then he'll take that $11 million this year, and then next year an NFL team comes calling and he's gone, he's done. So I think for Harbaugh, you have to make a decision here. And I know people could change their priorities in life and things like that, but every step of the way, and I'm not doubting Jim Harbaugh's love for Michigan. We know he played there. Now he's the coach there. You could see when he's on the podium at the Big Ten championship game, he wants none of the attention on him, right? Everyone was getting ready for that handshake with him and Petiti and all that. And then he goes, give the trophy to Zach Zinter. And then in the post game, he doesn't want to do the interview. He's given the interview off to his young wide receivers, also the kick returner for the team. So he didn't want the spotlight really on him. So there is a real genuine love that he has for Michigan, the history of the Michigan Wolverines, what it stands for, being a part of that team in multiple ways and that university in multiple ways. But throughout that, in a time where he has brought Michigan back, he almost is kind of on a date. And he's on a date with let's say a really good looking girl, attractive girl, 7.5, 8 out of 10, right? Your buddies are saying, oh, hey, look at who you're dating. That's a good date. It's a good pull for you. But then the moment someone slightly more attractive walks by and has a bigger bank account, let's just say, his eyes are wandering. And he's like, oh, maybe I'll try to pursue that person. And even when the gal is talking about marriage and he's like, yeah, I want to be together long term, his eyes are keep on looking in the other direction. And his eyes are keep on saying, oh, NFL. And even though he stayed, it does feel as if he has, I'm not saying he's not committed to Michigan, but it's 1 foot in and then 1 foot out. And you can't argue the results. The results have been spectacular. Michigan has defeated Ohio State 3 straight years. They're back in the college football playoff for the 3rd consecutive year. 3rd year as Big Ten champs. And now it's about getting these next 2 wins and win a national championship. But basically, if these reports are true, he's ready to sign this 5-year deal, about $11 million a year. That should be enough where you think he's staying. But then the part where I go, wait, he may not stay through the duration of that, because now they're putting a clause in the contract for this offseason that he can't leave. Not next or the year after that. And it's almost as if they kind of think that Harbaugh wants to go. Like, this is the way that I interpret this. They believe Harbaugh wants to go, and his number one interest is the NFL. So they're basically giving him this contract, and it's not agreed upon yet. It's just the reporting right now to make sure that he at least returns to Michigan for next year. And at that rate, like, I'm trying to put myself in Harbaugh's shoes. I'm not saying you owe it to Michigan because you could do whatever you want, right? You're the king at Michigan right now. But I think you got to make this decision. Do you want the NFL or do you want college? And if you want the NFL, I don't think you agree to this new deal. I don't. Now, I understand you could say, well, Zach, what happens if the NFL doesn't want him? Fair point. But I wouldn't sign this deal until after you figure out what the NFL interest is going to be for this offseason. Because I have a tough time believing that there wouldn't be at least a few teams when we could have, 10 jobs open this offseason? Like, you go through it. Just jobs where you could potentially see the coach, or you will see the coach lose their job, like either of them. You know, I don't think Robert Saleh gets canned in New York, but it's a chance. I don't believe Belichick's back with the Patriots next year. You already have the Raiders job that's opened as well. The Chargers will be open. No one in the AFC North will be open. AFC South, everyone's safe. You look in the NFC East, the Commanders will be open. You know, maybe McCarthy doesn't get the job done in the playoffs and he's not back. You know, you go through the NFC North, the Bears will be open. And then in the NFC South, you could have the Bucks and the Saints also open. And you have Carolina, who's currently open after firing their coaches back-to-back years. So the last 2 years, I guess there's been either selective interest from Harbaugh or there's been limited interest from the NFL. I got to think at least 3 teams are going to want Harbaugh to go coach him this year. Like David Tepper, you're not going to want him to coach. Josh Harris, you're not going to want him to coach. You know, the Bears, you don't want him to coach. So I think my message to Harbaugh would be figure out what you want. But you sign this new deal. I know that 2 years ago when he didn't get the Viking job, he's like, oh, this is not going to become a yearly occurrence, but it is. All this new deal does, assuming they put that clause in the contract, that he can't pursue a job this offseason in the NFL, is preventing him from leaving Michigan this offseason. Doesn't prevent him from doing so after the 2024 season. And hey, you have every ability in life to leave a job. You have someone that's going to pay you more money, or you think it's a better landing spot for you and your family. You could give me all that. But it wouldn't sit right with me. Let's say Jim takes this deal and he just punts this for one more year. And we're back in the same speculation, the same song and dance as we've been the last 2 years. You know, this third time, you know, I guess you don't want to say it's a charm, but the third time here, it's decision-making time. You either do this deal with Michigan and your intentions of going back to the NFL should fade away, or you don't do this deal, you wait, and you see who comes calling. Because it's not as if, let's just say, and I know we could say, oh, well, you lose negotiation powers. If Jim Harbaugh wants a new deal for Michigan and they're giving him $11 million now, that deal's still going to be available in 3-4 months from now. Now, it's still going to be available in February after the Super Bowl when the hiring process wraps up. It will still be there. So this idea that, let's say, the NFL doesn't give Jim Harbaugh a job, and then the next thing you know, Michigan's going to significantly reduce their offer. Yeah, I don't buy that for a second. Because the last one you want to annoy, you know, looking at it from a Michigan side of thing, is Jim Harbaugh. That program even though it's a legendary, iconic brand, that program on the football field, went through Rich Rod, went through Brady Hoke, went through some dark times. And now, the last 3 years, even when all odds were against Jim Harbaugh and they even cut his contract, he has totally turned and changed the view and the direction of the Michigan program. And I think it's better for college football if he stays. I want him to stay. But the actions don't add up to me, even with me wanting him to stay, that Jim wants to stay. I think he's content with being at Michigan. I think he's fine with being at Michigan. I think he's happy being at Michigan. But you sit Jim Harbaugh down, and let's say you strap him up to a lie detector test, right? You got the big burly guy that comes in and, bald guy, serious voice that straps up Jim Harbaugh and puts him on a lie detector test. You ask him, hey, Jim, coach, Mr. Harbaugh, is your preference to be a coach of an NFL team or the coach of Michigan? He says college team. I think it's a lie. I do. The guy wants to go back to the NFL. Now, you could ask, why hasn't he been given another opportunity? It's a great question. Because we've seen guys do a lot less than Jim Harbaugh get second opportunities. Adam Gase got a second opportunity. All right? Jim Harbaugh, in 4 years, 3 NFC title games, and a Super Bowl appearance. Doesn't make sense just because, he had a rocky relationship with Trent Baalke in San Francisco, why no one wants to give this guy an NFL job so far. So make that decision, Jim. Either take this deal and be the guy at Michigan, or you wait, go through the hiring process, and then if you don't get the job in the NFL, you can renegotiate a deal. But I don't like this clause where he just can't take the job this offseason. Because all that does is kick the can down the road. Kick it down the road till next year, and we'll be in the same mess. Because if that report's true, that there has to be a clause when you just sign a new deal to not leave this offseason, it shows that this guy's preference is to go back to the NFL. All right, it is Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We'll talk more about this Michigan contract potentially with Jim Harbaugh. Also go around the transfer portal landscape. Continue to talk about Florida State getting squeezed out of the CFP, and maybe a little early preview to New Year's Day for the semifinal games. One of the best college football reporters in the business is Nicole Auerbach, and she does a tremendous job for The Athletic and NBC Sports, and she'll join us next on the Zach Gelb Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. A very busy time for the college football season, even though we're waiting for the bowl games and also the semifinals on New Year's Day, because the transfer portal changes all of this right now with so many big-name quarterbacks jumping into the portal. So let's welcome in a tremendous college football insider for The Athletic and NBC Sports, and that's Nicole Auerbach here with us on the Zach Gelb Show. Nicole, appreciate you doing this. How are you?
Yeah, hanging in there. Hope you're well.
Yeah, thanks so much. So let's start with Michigan. There's been a bunch of reports out there today that I guess they're getting close with the new deal with Jim Harbaugh. Then there's maybe this one clause that he won't pursue an NFL job this offseason. Just what are you hearing when it comes to the Michigan coach and potentially a new deal?
Well, I mean, this has been something that, people have kind of been talking about for a number of months, obviously dating back before the sign stealing allegations even surfaced. But I don't think anything is imminent. Obviously, Michigan wants to keep him, and they've been looking at figures that would make him the highest paid coach in the Big Ten. But obviously, there's still a lot of hurdles that need to get taken care of, both in terms of the NCAA investigation and any language that might need to be in there, but also NFL opportunities. And so, again, I don't think anything is imminent, but I think it's been pretty clear that Michigan wants to retain him, wants to keep him, and views the NFL as kind of the only other avenue for him where they could lose him.
Do you think Harbaugh wants to stay at Michigan? Like, we all know he loves the school, but this is now 3 years in a row we've dealt with all these NFL rumors, if not more than that.
Well, I think that it's a totally different decision, right? And I think that's how Michigan folks have looked at it, of like, he's not going to leave his alma mater for a different college program. Yeah. But if he feels like he has unfinished business in the NFL and wants to prove something, that's a totally different avenue and a totally different decision. So we'll see. I mean, last offseason, and if this, strikes up and becomes a thing again this offseason, these are also under NCAA investigations. So we already know how Jim Harbaugh feels about that. And if he decides that he does not want to deal with it and the fallout, which is going to take a while, that could be another reason that he would pursue any NFL opportunities. But obviously they also need to want him and offer him a job.
And last year, right before the start of the season, they couldn't come to an agreement. So Michigan self-imposed that 3-game suspension. Then we know with the sign-stealing scandal, he just served a 3-game suspension, but that was self-imposed as well, an agreement, right, with the Big Ten. But there's still that NCAA pending investigation. With things now starting to get back on the focus on the field, just what are you hearing about the potential punishments that could come from both of those issues, if anything at all?
Well, it's still going to be a while to figure that out, because we still also need to figure out if, they're going to combine the cases or view Jim Harbaugh essentially as a repeat offender. We already know that the NCAA policy holds head coaches accountable for whatever happens in their program, whether they knew about something directly or not. But even with an accelerated pace, and clearly the NCAA was very aggressive in getting information and moving quickly, there's still different points of the processes that are going to slow it down. They're going to eventually give Michigan a notice of allegations that will spell out all of the information that they have, but Michigan then gets 90 days to respond to that. Then there's a 60-day period of response to that. So this is all still going to be something that we'll be talking about for a while. And if you think about it, the first piece of this related to recruiting violations in the COVID dead period, that's related to COVID, right? So it took years for that even to get to the point of a potentially negotiated settlement. So, this is just something that we're going to continue to deal with. And I think, we'll probably be spending a lot of next offseason thinking and talking about. There's also no precedent for the types of penalties that we'll see from this, because there's not been a case like this in NCAA history.
Nicole Auerbach here with us. So the biggest story this week in the sport has been Florida State being left out of the college football playoff. My take has been, they got screwed, but I also understand what the college football playoff committee did. Where do you stand on Florida State being kept out of the playoff?
Yeah, I can't believe the committee did it. I think that it goes against 9 years of precedent that they set, where every single week I've been on these calls with the selection committee chair where you ask questions and they say that they do not look forward. They do not project. They are basing this off of information and games that have been played. And they decided to project and say that they didn't think Florida State could compete and win a national championship. So they were leaving them out. And, I just think it was the wrong decision. It's never been the 4 best. It's never been teams that have, 2 losses, for example. There's never been a 2-loss team in the playoff. They always have taken the unbeaten Power 5 teams, and they always rank them at the top, and then they put the 1-loss teams, and then they put the 2-loss teams, because it's been about the most deserving. It's been about the resume, and they decided to abandon that because they just didn't think that Florida State could compete at the highest levels, even though they won 2 games, including a top 15 matchup against Louisville in the ACC championship game with their 3rd-string quarterback, who wouldn't even be the one playing in the game. I just can't believe that they did this to a team that did everything they were supposed to do, won every single game, resilient when their quarterback, Jordan Travis, goes out for the year. And I just think that the committee clearly did not, I disagree with the decision, but it was inconsistent philosophically with the rest of the rankings. I don't understand 4 Alabama, 5 Florida State, if you then have Florida State ahead of Georgia and you're trying to make the case that you went with the best teams. I would think the team that was ranked number 1 in the rankings for most of the season, Georgia, would still be above Florida State if that was the case. So it's been a really frustrating week with all of that. And I think that, we're going to continue to be arguing about this all the way through to the semifinals. They're going to be great games. I'm excited for them. But, I can still hold that and still be incredibly disappointed in what the committee did.
You would think the committee, right, they're rooting for Alabama because Alabama goes and wins, and it's kind of puts all this conversation to rest, right?
Well, they would probably feel better about it, I think, but it's really a separate thing in my mind. Even if they had put Florida State in and then they get blown out, that's separate from whether or not they deserve to be picked.
Sure.
And and so I think that they would definitely say, and people who supported Alabama and believe that they should have been in there, if they go and win it all, certainly will be like, see, we could have had a national championship without this team playing in it. But it was just unfair to not let Florida State play in it. The bunch of suits in a meeting room in Texas told them that they weren't good enough to play for a national championship. I think Florida State would have rather that season end on the field, even if they got beat. At least it's not someone just saying, hey, we think that team's better than you, or, the Vegas odds of this game would be closer. Like, that's not what this is supposed to be about.
So just wondering, by the sounds of it, you would have kept Bama out, right? You put Florida State in, and then the other three schools would have been Michigan, Washington, and Texas. That's what you would have done?
Yeah, I would have held to those principles of the head-to-head result for Texas and Alabama, and then, again, an undefeated Power 5 champion. I would possibly have I probably would have put Texas at 3 and then Florida State at 4, but I think that is a defensible top 4. It was going to suck for somebody no matter what, but, Alabama in that case would have lost the one game that they couldn't have lost this year. Texas actually was back and actually did all the things, and they had comparable resumes, and the head-to-head result would have given them the edge. And again, I am basing this off of what I think they have been doing in terms of the resumes and the benchmarks that have been cleared in the past to get teams in to compete for this. And again, I know somebody would have been heartbroken and we would have had one of those fan bases, but I just don't think it should have been Florida State. They did literally everything they were told to do, everything they possibly could have done all season. And you end up with the quarterback of that team saying and apologizing that he wishes he broke his leg sooner.
Crazy. One of the craziest statements and selfless statements I've ever seen.
And it's so clearly, again, I disagree with the decision, but you also didn't explain it well if you've got the quarterback of one of the team that's left out saying that. And they didn't. I don't think that they were coherent or consistent in their explanation either.
Nicole Auerbach here with us. It's kind of funny, right? We sit here all throughout the week and break down what needs to happen for who to get in. And whenever it came down to the Texas conversation, it was, Florida State probably has to win. And, of course, Texas has to take care of the Big 12 championship game. The best thing to happen to Texas was Alabama beating Georgia because the committee knew they couldn't put Bama in over Texas. And by doing that, I guess you could say they screwed Florida State, right?
I think that's probably part of it, that, it didn't come down to those two teams by the order that they put them in. It came down to Alabama and Florida State. But if you thought that Alabama was one of the best teams in the country, you did have to solve for Texas and figure out if you were going to lean into that head-to-head result and if you were going to keep them ahead of Alabama. And they should, and they had them ahead of them the entire time that we've had rankings this season. But, they were 12-1, I'm just trying to do the math right with the champ game. Yes, 12-1 Power 5 champions with similar resumes. So the head-to-head should have mattered, which is what it did. But I think that threw a wrench into all of this and said if you didn't have a team that had just beaten Alabama over the course of this season, maybe you just put Alabama in and that other Big 12 champion is the team that gets left out. I do think that's ultimately what it came down to because the committee wanted to adhere to that head-to-head.
From the reporting side of it, what is it like for you right now, Nicole Auerbach, to cover the transfer portal when we have all these big quarterbacks go in and everyone's trying to figure out what school they're going to pick?
Well, it's definitely different. I mean, it's as close to a free agency period as we have compared to professional sports. But December is just a crazy time period. A lot has been written about the calendar in college football not making a lot of sense because you've got the portal open, you've got coaching changes, you've got the early signing period where most schools sign most of their class now in December as well. And then, we're going to be adding playoff games that are going to be starting earlier in the season, but you have bowl prep. So there's just a lot to manage and a lot to keep an eye on. And then this week you also had Charlie Baker proposing a new subdivision for Division I. So there's just a lot going on, and you got to keep track of all of these things. And certainly, the big name quarterbacks need to know where they go because that's going to be the biggest storylines heading into next season and seeing, how these rosters shake out. And it becomes, you go to spring football and you're kind of learning about these teams. And then there's another window for the transfer portal. So everything is constantly evolving. I think that's been the biggest change covering these sports is the roster overhaul year to year is unprecedented. And so you have to really just stay on it and figure out how these teams change in the course of the off season, and you can't just base it on the number of returning starters or they bring back their quarterback. There's so many other moving pieces.
What are you hearing on the Dillon Gabriel and also Cam Ward front on where those next two players could be potentially going to?
Well, I think they've had conversations with different places and we'll get more clarity. I don't like to speculate too much on them except for, some of these that were more locked in and like Riley Leonard to Notre Dame, and he had the do not contact tag in his spot when he came into the portal. So like those things are more, where they're going to go, but I don't want to put any words in any of the players' mouths. But I think, the guy like Cam Ward, if I'm Ohio State, I think that would be a great addition. And I think that big arm, I loved Cam Ward. I thought he was a fantastic player and always worth staying up to watch Wazoo games. So I'd be interested in that. And then for Dylan Gabriel, he's obviously accomplished a lot, and he lost his offensive coordinator. So, that I think in the system he was in and kind of the roots in the Art Briles type of offense, there's a lot of coaches out there that run similar schemes that, he could be looking at.
I know what Marvin Harrison Jr. said today, but there's no way he's going back to Ohio State, right?
I can't imagine it. And, I saw some people speculating, like, what if Ohio State fans, raise enough NIL money? And it's like the first round NFL money is not the same as NIL money. Like, these are not comparable. Like, for a guy like Sam Hartman, who, probably would have been like a late round quarterback draft last year, he gets an opportunity to go be the starting quarterback at Notre Dame. There's going to be NIL opportunities that are going to be worthwhile. But for a top 5 pick, absolutely not. So I understand the sentiment, and certainly, this is a new uncharted water that we've seen for some of these Ohio State players who are facing down the possibility of never beating Michigan over the course of their career. But, I think no one can blame him either. I mean, this is life-changing money. This is generational type money that, you individually can earn after not being able to cash in this way. So I can't imagine that. That's not comparable to NIL money in college sports.
I know we have the 4 finals for the Heisman Trophy, and we'll find out on Saturday who wins it. When you talk to kind of people around college football, do you think more people lead Daniels, or do they lead Michael Penix Jr.?
Well, I think Jaden Daniels is the heavy favorite for sure. The curious piece of all of this that I'm very interested, once we eventually get the breakdowns, is what the margin is, and then also regionally, because Michael Penix Jr., I think a lot of people have kind of written him off as a distant third heading into the Pac-12 championship game. And then, you're thinking, okay, it's Bo Nix's opportunity to go out and win it, and you just got Jaden Daniels there waiting in the wing. But Michael Penix goes and wins the game, goes 2-0 versus Bo Nix and gets his team to the playoff. And it just felt like every time that Washington needed a play to stay alive in a game or to put a game away, and they were in a lot of one-score games, Penix was able to do something. And I will be curious to see how much that carries for people, and the fact that he was playing in meaningful games down the stretch, how much that matters. But I do expect, that Jaden Daniels will be the guy, because it just felt like, and I think Vegas has even shown it, like he was just a very heavy favorite, even going into conference championship week.
Last thing I'll ask you, Nicole Auerbach, who does a great job, college football insider for The Athletic at NBC. We won't hold you to it, but early prediction, who meets up in the national championship game, knowing who your 4 teams are?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one because it's hard to predict. I mean, before the season, I thought Michigan was probably I picked them as my national championship pick, but it's a hard matchup where, Jim Harbaugh's teams have struggled after that month layoff during December heading into these games, and obviously they've lost the semifinals the last 2 years. And then you got Nick Saban with a month of preparation, so it's hard to pick against him. But I think I'll stick with my preseason pick, and I'll go Michigan-Washington for a national championship.
Nicole Auerbach, appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing this.
All right, thanks for having me.
There you go. Nicole Auerbach joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. We'll update you on some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. The news brief will also take a few phone calls as well. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Update time first. Here he is, the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flag.
Well, a nice late afternoon start for Game 1 of the in-season tournament semifinal in the NBA. And right now, the Pacers and Bucks are even at 23 in the first quarter. Still 3 minutes left. These are the 2 highest-scoring teams in the previous in-tourney games. So far, Giannis Antetokounmpo off to a good start, hitting all 3 of his shots from the field. He has 8 points to lead the way, while Miles Turner has 10 for Indiana. The second part of the doubleheader will feature the Lakers taking on the Pelicans. The winners of the tournament will each get $500,000 per player. Tonight's winners guaranteed to get $200,000. Week 14 of the NFL season opens with the Steelers and the Patriots. Neither has its starting quarterback, as the Patriots have yet to announce one, but they have moved up Malik Cunningham to the active roster. Bailey Zappi could get the call as well. Kenny Pickett is out for Pittsburgh after ankle surgery, so it'll be Mitchell Trubisky getting the call. John Rahm, the latest PGA Tour defector, is the Masters champ headed to Live Golf. I'm Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio is turning up the heat this December.
From the NFL playoff push, bowl games, and coast-to-coast action from the NBA hardcourt to the college game,
we've got you covered.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
You can stream the NFL on Westwood One for free, sponsored by AutoZone all season long. You can listen to every Westwood One broadcast of the NFL live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports, or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. AutoZone's free battery testing and charging is available for free at your local AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. Final poll calculations today. If you needed a head coach, who are you hiring? Bill Belichick or Mike Tomlin right now? 78%. Wow. Say Mike Tomlin, 22% only go with Bill Belichick. We'll get to a news brief in just a second. Circling back to the Jim Harbaugh conversation, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Let's go to Ethan in Harrisburg next up on the Zach Gelb Show. Ethan, what's happening?
Hey, Zach. How you doing?
Doing great. What do you got for me today, pal?
Good. Hey, so first of all, thank you for not coming down as much as the other media on Michigan. I'm a 45-year-old Michigan fan, and I'm glad you had fun at the Michigan-Ohio State game.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I got a little bit of a different take on – I say they leave the clause out of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
If he wants to leave, focus on the staff they have there now. He's done everything he needs to do to rise that program up, and they've proven they can win. So if he wants to leave, he has such a great coaching staff there right now. Make sure they all stay.
Yeah, I would think if Harbaugh leaves, Sharon Moore is going to become the head coach. Now, could they do it?
I would hope so.
Could they do it like you are Michigan? You should do a search. But then yet again, it's like you look at UNC and Duke basketball when they had legendary coaches leave. I'm not saying Harbaugh's to the level of a Coach K or a Roy Williams, but they practically picked their coach and getting someone that used to be with the program with them to take over the reins with Davis and then also with John Shire. But I would still go through an actual search. But with what Moore did the last 3 weeks and the emotion he did show and how lovable of like a figure he became with the Michigan program, I think it would be tough to not give him the job.
Yeah, and the prestige with him with the Joe Moore Awards.
Yeah, offensive lines, yeah.
Able to get guys and Klink and Mike Hart, and he's got a great coaching staff there. I'll let you go and let you talk about it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Ethan. Thanks so much for the phone call. All righty, we're running out of time, so let's update you on some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We get to the news brief.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
All righty, let's start off with Trevor Lawrence. So I think we all talked about this on Monday, or was it Tuesday, where we were like, oh, Trevor Lawrence gets injured in the game up against the Bengals, and, right, it's a bad ankle injury, and then you see him hobbling in the hallway. It's like, why didn't he get a cart on Monday Night Football? This is Trevor Lawrence, why he did not use a cart after the injury.
We talked about getting a cart, and I was going to get a cart, and then I'm standing there, and I'm already on the sideline at that point. The tunnel's right there. I just wanted to get off the field, get out of there. I didn't know what was going on with my ankle, and I felt like I could get off. I was like, hey, you're good. Just don't bring it out. I'm going in. And then once I got in there, I'm like, this is a pretty long walk, you know. But I was already there, and they asked again if I wanted a cart. I'm like, no, we're going to make it the whole way there. I didn't know there was cameras in the tunnel. But no, of course we have carts, and I was the one that didn't choose to take one.
So, like, part of me says, okay, you're trying to be the tough guy, Trevor Lawrence, but someone has to say, Trevor, I know you're the franchise, but get your ass on a cart. But they didn't do that. Here is Robert Saleh responding to Aaron Rodgers' comments about the leaks in the building with the whole Zach Wilson report, and he called it chicken bleep. That's what Rodgers said earlier in the week to Pat McAfee. Here is the Jets coach.
I don't think it's an attack on the organization, but I always appreciate Aaron's thoughts and comments.
What's your take on that, the leaks, and like not necessarily Aaron saying it, but what do you feel about the leak?
We'll handle all that stuff internally, but like I said, it's everyone's going to have their thoughts, but those are things we'll handle internally.
Do you think it's a problem?
No, not at all.
I would love to have Robert Saleh's salary. I don't, though. I'm not someone that's jealous of what Robert Saleh has to do each and every day. Because I do think, like, part of what Rodgers is saying is right, where they're not refuting the report, really, but it's more so how the report got out to the reporters, to Diana Rossini and company. So he's going after the organization with there being leaks in the organization, how it's sloppy. And, like, Robert Saleh knows, well, the only reason I'm going to have a job next year is because of Aaron Rodgers, and I can't say I fully agree with Aaron Rodgers because then I'm going against the organization and saying the organization's sloppy. You have to dance through a lot of hula hoops these days if you're Robert Saleh. So in the Tennessee-Indianapolis game, Will Levis looked annoyed at DeAndre Hopkins, and he was yelling at DeAndre Hopkins down the sideline. And then once Hopkins got off the field to the sideline, and I guess Will Levis has received some backlash, right? Rookie quarterback, you have this established soon-to-be Hall of Famer in DeAndre Hopkins, and you're yelling at him. This is Will Levis responding to the backlash from yelling at Hopkins.
Yeah, maybe I forgot that I was on TV, but no, it's just one of those things that just happened. And if I would have gone back, I would have been more neutral about it for sure. But that's just part of the, things about being an NFL quarterback and learning along the way of how to be a leader and how to get your guys going. But definitely would have handled it differently if I would have done it again.
Yeah, it's weird because, like, he's the quarterback, so in essence, you're supposed to be the leader of the team. I'm usually okay when a quarterback shows some emotion, but then you're also a rookie. And I don't think it's a great look when you're going after DeAndre Hopkins. Now, I don't know if DeAndre Hopkins had any problem with it. He kind of just took his helmet off and walked away from Will Levis, but it did look a little bit odd, but we've seen worse things happen on the football field. Not a big deal. Here is Terry McLaurin. Commanders got smacked by the Miami Dolphins, and this is the star wide receiver on not having any catches on Sunday.
Nah, I ran a lot of cardio, so it happens. It comes with it when it's tough. But yeah, it's frustrating. But I'm gonna continue to run my routes hard. So that's what I'm gonna do. At the end of the day, I'm not gonna quit. But yeah, it's frustrating.
That's like the definition of someone that you want in your team, right? We all know he should have a catch, and he doesn't. He makes a joke, lighthearted joke, and then he's just gonna keep on working in Terry McLaurin. Here is Ron Rivera on McLaurin. Having no catches.
I've talked with Terry before, and we've talked about those things, and I know he's talked to Eric, and he's gone in, and he and EB have good conversations from what I understand, and to me that's the way you handle it, is you go in and you talk directly, and I think that's big of what he's been doing. It's been big of him to come in and fight the frustration and talk about it if that's what needs to be.
It's so pointless to have Ron Rivera still coaching this team. Like, you're in a bye week. Hand it over to Bieniemy, and away you go for the final 4 weeks of the season. Really is pointless. Here is Jaden Daniels, who's supposed to win the Heisman Trophy, courtesy of USA Today Sports, on Florida State, right? Getting left out of the college football playoff.
It sucked knowing that, they put all the work in, and obviously they weren't rewarded for it. And, we played them week 1, so, obviously losing Jordan was a big deal for Florida State. And, I personally think, obviously, they kind of did it just because of, ratings and viewership and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're not going to leave the one-loss SEC champ out. They're just not. And I said that going in, like Alabama wins, even though it's tough to kind of figure out how they'll get in, they'll eventually get in. And, I don't know if it's about ratings and money and necessarily all that. It has to factor in some capacity, but it's more so they didn't view Florida State as this great team without Jordan Travis. So Joe Tessitore, who has advocated for Florida State to get into the playoff when he was doing the call of the AC championship game, he had a little contentious back and forth with FSU fans at the Tallahassee Quarterback Club where he was speaking.
Do you think it's appropriate to use players' injury just to accomplish a predetermined goal of including the SEC champions into the playoffs?
Come on, man. We don't consider a predetermined goal. I don't even know what to tell you there. Like, what? The process is the process. I told you what my thoughts are, but, like, if this is like a gotcha moment, I'm not sitting here. Let's get something straight. I get a paycheck from ESPN. I work for my wife and 2 kids. That's who I work for.
Okay, so you think they should be in the playoff and then the whole wife and kids and I don't know. All right. Joe Tessitore, I kind of have enough of Joe Tessitore ever since Monday Night Football, if I'm being frank with everybody. Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram were asked, will they celebrate the in-season championship that they're in the Final Four for?
You mentioned that you guys like to have fun. Have you thought at all about how you're going to celebrate if you're able to pull this off?
Man. Nah, we ain't thought about it, but I know it's going to be a good time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's amazing. And that kind of encapsulates everyone's thoughts on the in-season tournament. It's such a... I'm trying to debate if the reporter knew he was, trolling, knew what he was doing there, or if that was, a genuine, I'm excited about this tournament. You're going to celebrate if you win the championship. I kind of think it was the former, where he was trying to get a reaction, and both Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram were like, celebrate? Like, this? It's nothing. It's a money grab. Yeah, you get money and win, all that, but stupid. It's really dumb that the NBA is doing it. It shows how pointless and inane that it is. All righty, we'll wrap it up. That's the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. I'd like to thank Nicole Auerbach for stopping by. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for listening and watching and tweeting away on the show. You can always follow me on social media at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB, Instagram and Twitter. Moist Mike, great job as always. Stuart Kovacs as well. And we'll be back tomorrow on a very busy Football Friday as it all gets started right here on CBS Sports Radio at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Tonight, I think it's the under. I like the Steelers anytime touchdown. Steelers going to win the game. Have a good one, everybody. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.